Hi guys, although March the 11th hasn't quite finished yet, it's 8:52 over here in the UK. I'm moving on. My focus is completely drawn to April. I'm not even going to focus on any more days in March. Um, April the 3rd, April the 18th. The reasons why I think that, I'm just going to take you through some of the things I've already pointed out and some of the things that I haven't, so bear with me. This house, I've already pointed out the A that is represented inside of this house. Now, the reason I think that is because if you look at the entire structure, each joint, there's no gaps, there's no overdrawing of the lines. You see, everything is joined up quite nicely until you get down to the bottom here, where you can see that when they've drawn this line, they've gone over this bottom line here, and when they've drawn this line, they've stopped short of actually connecting it properly. That tells you that this line is separate. It was drawn separately from the rest of it, and the rest of it is seamless and makes up the letter A. And then you've got the 3 over here, which is saying to me April the 3rd. Over here, you could say that you've got another 3 just twisted around, and that would still correspond to the same day that I'm looking at, or one of the same days that I'm looking at, which is April the 18th, which is the 3rd lunar month and the 3rd lunar day in April. So that's one, that's the house. The next one, the chalkboard. Bush's finger is covering the 3rd sperm droplet here, but actually, let me get a better image. Yeah, that one's better. So I pointed out again already the A that this penis makes with the line across it, and the 3 that the testicles make. And then you've got 3 droplets, and what looks like is the image when you increase the resolution and mess with the exposure a little bit actually looks like a Pinocchio mask, but right now it looks like it could be the letter A, even with the line kind of, rubbed out a little bit. It's part of the background image, but is enough in the foreground to be part of the foreground image as well. So, they've used it for dual purposes. So that again could be A3, A3, April the 3rd, April the 3rd, referring to either April the 3rd on the Gregorian calendar or April the 18th on the Gregorian calendar, which is the 3rd lunar month and the 3rd lunar day. So those of you who already have watched these videos already know what I'm talking about. For those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, we are looking at the lunar calendar, and in April the 3rd is the 18th lunar day, and April the 18th is the 3rd lunar day in the 3rd lunar month. So when we're looking at April the 3rd, they correspond, well, the research that I'm doing is looking at either April the 3rd or April the 18th. I'm leaning more towards April the 18th because while they've got April the 3rd, clearly highlighted in the video, the number 18, they've taken more care to hide. And I'm not going to go through the revealing of all that just at the moment. But in JK's video and in one of the previous videos I did, you'll find that there's the number 18 on the blonde girl's dress. You'll find the number 18 on the clock tower, and you'll find the number 18 written next to the Psalms 23. So they've taken care to hide it. Again, referring to April the 3rd or April the 18th being, you get it by now. You've got the upside down 2 and the upside down 2 on this side of the lady's head, which equals 4, which I think corresponds to April, which is the 4th month. And then you've got the 3 over here, which is either April the 3rd or the 3rd lunar day. We'll see. Some more in the video. I'm just basically pointing out where I see, kind of April the 3rd being pointed out, so bear with me. Over here, if these are months, and I've tried to interpret them as, other things, but, it always comes back to months, January, February, so on and so forth. April, the one back here, is the one that is sitting right next to the exit, and that could be a direct correlation to, the months, in terms of this is when you should be exiting, or by now you should have exited. Again, I really don't know per se, but there you go. The rabbit, which is, you know, commonly associated with Easter, which is on April the 1st, the same day as April Fool's Day, then has 3 blades of grass next to it, which could again indicate April the 3rd or April the 18th, depending on how you're looking at it. Again, down here, you know, 3 blades of grass there, suggesting maybe the 3rd day, either April the 3rd or April the 18th. Excuse me if some of this gets a bit repetitive, but I think, you know, I just want to kind of get to the crux of it all. And then we've got the lunar calendar, LC, which is also the lunar 3rd, which when you, as I've mentioned before, because the 15 that they've drawn down here with the X and the 5 joins onto the C that we see at this vantage point, it makes the number 18, which would be lunar 3rd 18, which is again is the either the lunar 3rd, which is the 18th of April, or the lunar 18th, which is the 3rd of April. So it's just 2 days to look at, but the numbers keep, you know, crossing over each other. And then we get outside the classroom, or not exactly outside, but I haven't figured out all these markings, but you know, it's quite clear that there's a representation of the letter A here. And I'll probably look into it some more. I can see an X and things like that. So, you know, that needs to be a little bit more, that needs to be analysed a little bit more. As I mentioned in my previous video, the Psalms 23, when it's upside down, gives you a whole scenario of events. One of the things that it does kind of suggest is the number 3 is right way around this way, and when you flip it around, number 3 remains the same. And then you've got the letter A, which is upside down in this vantage point, with this curl coming across to make the line that you get in the capital letter of A, which again could be the 3rd of April. Then it goes into more details, which I've done in another video, so I'm not going to go over it again. But as I mentioned, you might be able to see just a little bit the number 18. If I go over it, you might be able to get like a ghost image of the 18 there. There's the 8, and there's the 1. When you flip it upside down, you can see it the right way around. But then again, you've got 18 and 3rd, which corresponds to both days in April. So my focus is completely drawn to April. Whether that means I'm being fooled, I don't know, but I'm sticking with it because there's a lot of correspondence, and I find that when there is a lot of correspondence, that you may be onto something. One of the things I pointed out before, but not a lot of people have agreed they can see, is that this giant, like, kind of cliff rock formation, tsunami formation, with the shark in the middle, actually is the word April across the entire face there. So the way you have to kind of look at it is like when you look at books on a shelf, kind of from an angle, they're all kind of facing outwards like this way, so you're not going to see the full lettering. I've taken the liberty of outlining it, and I hope that you can now kind of see what I'm saying in terms of the face here, kind of making up the letter A, and then the P, which is, you know, also doubles up as the open mouth shark, which represents submarine, and the R, you get to see part of the eye, like half of it, and then the L, which is made up of the rock formation, and then comes down and actually joins onto this kind of like submarine formation we've got down here in the water. If I take those lines away, you may be able to see what I'm saying. I don't know if you'll see it, but to me, it looks exactly like the word April. And when I put the lines back, I hope you'll agree. Um, One thing over here, you're thinking, is it April the 11th? Because they've got two towers here, and I think that's just a misrepresentation. The two towers are another reference to 9/11, letting you know that this video is about a second 9/11 style event, which is basically a false flag. Um, the real number, I believe, is the 3, and more specifically the 18 that they've got hidden um, across the video. I think that's as far as I've gone so far in terms of analysing for April the 3rd. It's really just the kind of opening scene there. And obviously I've already mentioned the reference to the 666 on the goat's head, which obviously makes up the number 18. And we see the number 3 in the snow there as well. So I'm just thinking April the 3rd, April the 18th now. I'm not going to be looking at any other dates. Thank you for any other suggestions that you may have in terms of any other dates that you may think it is. But for me specifically, I'm just going to focus on those 2 days and put my energy into trying to figure out if that's correct. So you guys, as I said, you may agree, you may not agree with my indication of the word April written across there. Have a look at yourselves and just try and see the letters. If you can't see them, for me it just kind of stands out. And one other thing I wanted to point out is just back here is that, you know, the common theory is that this is a winter time, so it must have to happen, you know, before March ends. But if you'll notice that just down here, this little formation here, which either could be a nuclear reactor or a volcano, is actually the cause, or is one of the causes of why the sky is dark. This isn't clouds. This, I believe, is smoke or ash. Because if you look a little bit further past into the horizon, you can see what appears to be a sunset or a horizon, you know, sunshine kind of in the background with that kind of orangey glow. Again, that could be a nuclear explosion in the background with this orangey glow. Really don't know, but I'm pretty sure that this isn't just a winter. This is a winter caused by something else. So, you guys, that's it. Have a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and God bless.